So, an old institution which still values teaching a futuristic language, which is an ancient language of India, gives priority to work on the lexicon for this language. And I'm standing in Pune and talking where every one of us who learned Sanskrit in some part of the country or the other have referred to B.S. Apte. Anything to do with Sanskrit, B.S. Apte. At home, I might have 3 different copies. Once I've lost, later I found, but I bought in the meanwhile. B.S. Apte is everywhere. So, getting a lexicography work done here for Sanskrit tells you how robust this place is, how you're keeping the interest in students for rigorous academic work, and therefore appreciations to this Center of Learning, Deccan College. You stand out so prominently because some of the great names of Pune have studied here. Lokmanya Tilak, who actually spoke about India's Swaraj, was a student here. What greater institution can India's Suraj and Swaraj can have as a symbol? So I'm very, very humbled to be here, happy to be here, and honored to address you on this occasion. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The topic which has been given to me to talk is the role of higher education in reaching the destination which is Vikasit Bharat. Vikasit Bharat, we were even 500 years ago, when Krishna Devaraya was ruling from central India, from northern Karnataka. We had reached heights of economy, heights of civilizational values, heights of what a society can give its citizens in the name of economic well-being. We lost all that. We lost all that progressively as we went forward because of the various kinds of attacks on us. They were not attacks where we were allowed to do our own, but somebody is trying to usurp power. It was an attack on the very value systems that we had. Enterprise was a feature of our DNA. Enterprise among small traders, small businessmen, small manufacturers was the backbone of the Indian economy. We believed in trade. We traded with far-flung nations. We earned such resources that our coins, the coins of our kings, are found all over the world. And even in restoring what was lost, the role of Maharashtra's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, any time, any number of times you speak about it, cannot be an exaggeration. So in that land, which has seen, because of the great rulers of India, India's glory, India reaching that height that we were one of the leading economies, first economies of this country, of Earth, and later to restore, to claw back what we had lost. The role that this part of India has played is so significant, not only in valor, but in the thought process that we need to have an India which is well rooted, an India which respects its self-esteem, an India which believes that we can do it. Today, as an aside, for a minute I want to tell you, an India which is rooted, an India which can do on its own, an India which can go back to where it was, clawing back with valor, are all put by the wayside. The narrative is we can't. The narrative is, how do you think we can reach 5% growth? The narrative is, what is all this digital public infrastructure? What is all this Do we have connections in the villages? Can our people deliver all this? Why are we setting a high-pitched ambition? So the narrative that is set before us by responsible political parties is also that India can't. We cannot deliver, so let's go slowly. That is why, in spite of being in power, in spite of saying that we were the ones who opened the doors of India in 1991, so we got to become globalized, we are setting, by their standards, another probably 10 to 12 years to reach a 5 trillion economy. Not third rank. So there is no drive or ambition because there's no belief in our inherent strength. But we are standing in that bhumi which actually has repeatedly reminded us about our inherent valor, inherent thought, and inherent civilizational values. It is a land which believes that we can deliver. That's why you had great people from this place, Gopalakrishna Gokhale, Lokmaanya Tilak, Savarkar, and they repeatedly reminded us it is possible for us to do it, we will do it, we will take us further. And that is why standing here and responding to the topic that has been given, the role of higher education in reaching Viksit Bharat. In spite of glorious institutions, but a few of them here and there, most of our young today want to go abroad for higher studies. Nothing wrong in that. But many of them did not return. Now the trend is reversing, people are returning as well. Why did they go out? Because there was no place for progressively improving higher educational facilities. There were one or two institutions which were keeping up that academic rigor and quality education. But the priority of keeping everything under the control of government without giving flexibility for educational institutions saw nearly 3-4 decades go by when the government did not put money for higher education. Only some institutions were being built, and that is why I like to remind you, as different from what prevailed till 2014, look at the number of IITs, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, universities, colleges, and seats in colleges for professional education and for humanities being done post 2014. That many number of institutions which India had between 1947 and 2014 have been done in the last 10 years in addition to what is existing. The priority for our higher education, the priority for creating more doctors and nurses and engineers, not so much just for becoming doctors and engineers, but also for becoming faculty so that good quality teaching is provided in institutions. Seats being increased so that our students, instead of going and paying hard-earned foreign exchange and joining in colleges which don't have an equivalent in Indian recognition. So they go, I know, and I'm saying this purposely. Students from Telangana, and this is not just Telangana but many other states as well, for doing medicine would go to China. Outside of Beijing, in a particular place, there is an institution in which majority of these students from Hyderabad and neighborhood have gone. But having gone there and obtained the degree, when they come back to India, they realize that that is not recognized by India. So you need to have one more qualifying exam to be passed here. Similar is the case of students going into Central Asian republics, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Ukraine. And that is why when the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine, a lot of students had to be taken back, brought back. And having come back, they realized again there is a mismatch between what they have learned and what they have to acquire, and again qualification. So, in order to address these problems, Prime Minister Modi made it the point to sit and understand how to increase the seats in India, number of institutions in India, and quality of institutions also. And in the process, the new education policy was also brought up. The new education policy is actually opening up, revolutionizing education, because you are able to do multidisciplinary courses. You are able to bring out your aptitude better. You can get your scores in one particular subject which is not your main set of subjects, but be able to carry that on to your main course. So higher education, higher learning has seen a lot of flexibilities being coming through the new education policy. One very important aspect is higher education to be learned in mother tongue. And in that, technology also being brought in to help the system. So you can now become a doctor understanding the subject in your own mother tongue and serve your own people better, and not get confused or not get undermined or overwhelmed because you're doing it in English. Probably your schooling was in your mother tongue, and great that you're now able to do your higher education also in mother tongue. Engineering, doctors, going for medical education are all now available in respect to mother tongues. And also, technology is being brought into the classrooms. The digital university idea was brought in because we don't want far-flung areas in the country which do not have a brick and mortar place, a proper concrete college into which they can go and study. They can still learn from a digital university. And affiliation rules were also favorably tweaked in order that a college or a small institution can benefit from a distant center of learning through digital learning. To aid all this, and particularly during COVID time, to aid this, particularly for primary schools, Doordarshan was made to open up, if I remember correctly, 22 different channels through which classrooms were created with content, so that during the lockdown, children can stay at home, watch during Doordarshan telecast, and Doordarshan is free. It is not under any Tata group under license or some cable TV for license. No money need to be paid. It is free to download. So classroom education was strengthened through digital mode as well as through Doordarshan. Teachers were able to communicate with their children. So the kind of steps taken for strengthening the ground network for education is remarkable in the last 10 years. Now, therefore, when you talk of role of higher education, the emphasis given today that there can be private universities. Private universities can have their curriculum well tailored according to the multidisciplinary way of teaching. You can get teachers from outside, pay them handsomely, so that any teacher shortage which is affecting any center of learning can be overcome. And one major step which is a leap forward for particularly STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, is in the gift city in Gandhinagar. Without having UGC and its regulatory framework governing. Any foreign university can come and set up a center of learning in GIFT, and their students can go and join for these STEM courses. STEM plus finance education. So when you want to grow into the area of finance or grow into the area of mathematics, higher learning, you also desire that there is a foreign affiliation in which you can have cross-pollination of learning, GIFT City has that now. So the science and technology-based education, particularly for women who wish to have simultaneous learning and also affiliation with some Western university, can please approach the GIFT City. The long and short of what I want to tell you is, in order to make the fundamental learning experience a lot more versatile, a lot more option-based, so that every student can look for the option that they would want, is provided for. Several remarkable steps have been taken, and the new education policy has given a policy heft for that purpose. Now, why would this be important for us? Now, having laid this on the ground, India needs to have, by 2047, people skilled in various different kind of academic areas, technology-driven areas. We want India to lead in AI. We want India to be able to generate a lot of the ChatGPT type of instruments which can be brought out of artificial intelligence. Why do we want that? So that those in situ solutions which can be given for redressing problems, for making daily life easier, for making options available for citizens, for serving citizens better, for economy to be better protected, you need a lot more skill, and for which higher education is important. Even yesterday, there were a couple of news items, I'm sure many of you saw it. Today, the employment scenario is not based on that one degree that you have obtained. You may have been a topper from IIT or Indian Institute of Sciences, or you could have been a topper from Deccan College. But that is only a first step towards an entry into a job. After that, unless you keep yourself abreast of developments, and for which you don't need to go running for various institutions, they are all available online nowadays. So unless you keep yourself abreast through learning from these online courses, even an employer thinks that you're stagnating. They want people with higher and higher familiarity with subjects. They want people with a lot more tech-savvy ways of doing things. Employees are preferring people who are ready to learn on the job or on the floor of the shop floor, as they say. So learning has become a lot more relevant to the work that we are doing today, not just as one stepping stone for a job. Look at the way in which robotics is taking over industry. Not just industry, warehouses, where goods are stored, where materials which come from one part of the world going to another part are kept. The Amazons of the world, they are stacking up all the goods which have to be moved. Come and go, optimally use the storage space, deliver on time. All these are being done through robots. But who understands the robots? Who's programming the robots? Who's going to be able to make it more efficient? Robots are not going to be without human intervention. There is a human being who's steering the robot, who's programming the robot. And that robot is not just going to be dealing with storehouses or manufacturing, car manufacturing, automobile sector, completely automated. So you may not see a worker on the shop floor, but he's sitting behind a glass shield through which he's watching what's happening there. And that person has got to be adept at using technology, the codes which are necessary for it. So your learning cannot be, well, I am a computer engineer, I passed out last 10 years ago. No, today are you abreast of what is going to be done further? So with the languages. Languages today just not for documentation, for communication, or just for studying the history of the language. Languages are now becoming the content for your digital substance. How do you get your language translation done through your AI? Bhashini, the portal which is being created by Government of India, is simultaneously giving you the capability. Prime Minister experimented with it in a public meeting. He spoke in Hindi. It was simultaneously audible for people with earphones in at least 5 languages of India. Simultaneous translation of the oral spoken word, not the messaging, which anyway gets translated. So the technology is moving very rapidly. And for that you need people understanding technology, understanding the language as well. So in every area, unless you're progressing, you're not going to be able to transfer it into the purpose for which you need it. Medical language, medical terminology. So for an India which has to be developed, for an India which has aspirations to take private enterprise, build satellites to go to the space technology, we've opened up, lot of investments are coming through for it. You need people to be savvy in understanding space, medicine, to diagnostic equipments manufacturing. We are importing all of them. Why can't we manufacture it ourselves? So higher learning today is not just for getting that certificate. Higher learning is for you to understand and sense what that one is giving you and build on it, contribute with it, make a difference to the life today which is full of technology everywhere. So there is no study, no subject of higher learning which can say, I have nothing to do with technology, I'm all right. No. If you say that, it's not the fault of the system. It is only you who are hesitating to integrate technology into your domain and reap the benefit out of it. So higher learning has a very big role to play in building India which is going to be developed, for which our current generation will have to have a lot of jugglery done in getting knowledge about technology, in getting subject content, and continuously keep building on it. Learning has always been recognized by our ancients as a continuous process. Till you live, you're a student. But that is really, today you can see it, that till you live and every day that you live is the process of learning. So it has a very big role to play. I don't want to make my opening statement longer than this. I understand there's also an interaction. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Madam, for your insightful words. So what we have done is we have asked our students to send us questions on chits because we thought it would be difficult and time-consuming to run through the mic. So I will read a few questions, ma'am. You have the cordless mic, so if you want, you can answer. So there's a question that we have received that in a country like ours, in India, where mother tongue changes in every 100 kilometers, and where we don't have enough corpus for higher education in different languages, how this higher education in mother tongue will be dealt?
I think the simple answer there and the most effective answer is technology can play the role in being able to, irrespective of terrain, whether it's every 100 kilometers or every 500 kilometers, technology does it for you in that language. So, I think that's a simple answer and that's the answer I would give.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can I ask who gave this question? Can you stand up? Because not everyone has written their name. Okay, Raj, Linguistics Department. Okay. Next question is, what would be the role of government for providing respectable jobs to deserving candidates after completing rigorous training, doctoral research and so on to secure the dream of Vikasit Bharat? This is from Oshin Bam, PhD student.
What will be the role of the government is, one, to create an environment in which more and more versatile opportunities are there for people to start their business. Jobs are just not those vacancies which are there in the government to get filled. Jobs are also those where commercially opportunities are there, businesses invest in them, and commercial opportunities are converted into business propositions, and in that searching for a job, and in that locating a job. So policy-driven support for commercially viable propositions is the role which the government can play.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next is directed to you directly. What is your unique insight that makes you inspired to handle such an important responsibility of the nation and makes you determined and confident?
But who's asked this question?
Who has asked this question? What's your name? Madhavi Mohite.
Madhavi, why did you want to ask me this question?
Because I see that you are firm and gives firmness to us.
Thank you.
Listen. Very difficult to answer. Very difficult to answer. But I suppose. Sorry, I'm going to give a gender-infused answer. Women are normally firm. And that's why they're not wanted to. But once they reach there, it is their firmness which makes up the difference. So we've just got to continue being there and moving forward. So naturally, every woman's communication, action, dedication to her work, stand up and stand out so sharply. So I suppose the word firm applies to all of us.
Thank you, ma'am. How do you see the integration of traditional knowledge systems such as Ayurveda or Vedic mathematics contributing India's economic growth and development? This is from Anjali Kawadi, Sanskrit and Lexicography. Anjali, are you there? Yes.
Thank you. Irrespective of the fact whether the Indian traditional knowledge systems, the Vedic maths and everything else, are part of the curriculum or not, it is in our bloodstream. Some, a lot, and in some others, not so much. But it is in us. And unless we give opportunity for that, inherently the strength that we have cannot be capitalized. So it is gradually coming down, that's a worry. But I remember in schools, it was left to the teacher to do. On a picnic, a teacher would say, all right, all of us are sitting here, just watch the tree branch. There are some birds sitting there. And even as she's sitting and watching that and saying this, 2 birds fly away. And then she can quickly coin a riddle out of it for either language capacities or for a simple arithmetic problem. Children do remember that throughout life because it's an experienced learning. You sitting and enjoying the sight and learning it, and you're part of it. Most of our traditional knowledge systems were based on experience-based learning. And that is why it has sustained itself all these centuries. We need to get them back into our academic learning processes because it strengthens. Inherently, Indians have that in themselves. That is why when you go abroad, you hear people saying, how is it that you guys are doing maths better than most of our children? Because naturally it is built. You think that rote system is not good. But actually, it is the oral heritage that we have by recitation, by taking this on rote in your mind, by repeatedly saying things, it stays in your mind. So Indian learning systems believe more in repetitive learning, orally narrating, by rote learning, some of them. That's not to say you shouldn't have reason come into your learning, but rote does make your brain cells sharper. So these sort of things will have to be taught.
Thank you so much. The next question, there are two parts. How do you see the role of research in realizing the vision of Vikasit Bharat? I think ma'am has already answered this and addressed this in her talk. Second is, what potential research in multiple disciplines bears on shaping the Vikasit Bharat? What potential research in multiple disciplines? Who is that? Who has asked this question? Yes. Can you stand and tell me?
I partly answered that.
May I also add one other question? What role indigenous knowledge systems have to play in shaping the Vikasit Bharat? But you must have answered that.
I answered that insofar as the learning processes. But indigenous knowledge systems had very many things which were on the ground. I didn't mention about that when I answered, but I will take this opportunity to explain that. You know, the traditional way in which our water bodies were designed by our kings, ancient kings, took advantage of the topography of the land, understood the nature of India as a country which depends on rain. Not all parts of India are blessed with perennial rivers. So they knew what was water conservation. How excess water from a lake which is located on a higher level can flow to the next, further to the next, till it reaches the sea. That helped India even during the worst monsoon deficit periods. And that also gave jobs for people in the local areas, maintaining, dredging, preserving the lake bed, not having encroachment in them. Locally depend on local source of water. Today when we see Latur and Usmanabad areas, your heart breaks. People have lived there for ages. But have we aggravated the problem on water? It's a question that I have. Our knowledge systems traditionally depended on these sort of things. Look at the traditional wow. Such beautifully architecture has been brought into it so that the place looks a lot more, livable, memorable, and so on. But the people who go down there to take water, understanding hydrology and then doing that, all this existed. We've somewhere lost our way, and today our urban planning requires to go back to learn all this to restore our water, groundwater. Groundwater table is a matter of great concern. It's going down. Water sources are depleting. Traditional knowledge systems.
Ma'am, we just have two more questions. We'll quickly wrap it up. One is what are your opinions on government ideas about neurodivergence in higher learning? Because your insights about balancing mental health with ambition and competition, that is one.
Very sensitive area. I think both the family and the institutions are going to play in this. It may not be a very popular answer. Many people may not like me saying this. We should. It's one thing to motivate our children. It's one thing to set ambitious goals for our children. But we shouldn't push them too hard. That if they don't perform, even the family might look down upon it. If you give that message to the child, he has no space, he or she has no space to vent his feelings or her feelings. It is one thing to help the children to move forward so that they have better prospects. But we shouldn't make them victim of those goals. We should constantly keep articulating our concern, talking with our children, spending quality time with them, and making sure that they are not left to worry alone. It is important for the families to have that support mechanism. Institutions should carefully handle students. It need not be that 100% pass is what my institution has to get, and therefore I push every student to have it. We need to be a bit more caring society.
Thank you, ma'am. And the last question. Scientific discoveries in social science can often clash with political ideology of various parties, including the ruling government. How can freedom of thought be safeguarded in a country like ours, where people can have volatile reaction when their ideas on culture, past and language is challenged?
I don't see an issue with it at all. If the person would want to recognize themselves, it's fine. Or
Who has asked this question?
It's all right. If you don't want to get up outside, I'm not worried. I don't think it is an issue at all. I'm not negating, I'm not in a denial. But the issue has risen because there is a suspicion that the government may not support some kind of research. No, not at all. Every research is fine. But research itself implies that is rigorous methodology. It is data-based or data-driven. It has no political agenda underlying it. Research for the sake of research. But if there are political agenda, there will also be political response to it, not just from the ruling party, from any party. Higher institution, learning centers, higher education institutions, student community, teaching faculty and their community, administration, everyone has to have a role in making sure the atmosphere is clear on this. And you didn't ask me, but I will use this example which has come out yesterday. Rohit Vemula. I use that as an example to tell you how an incident, an unfortunate incident, without allowing the university to handle it with all sensitivity, was dragged across the streets of India, all over the country. And a narrative was built. Oh, this government is suppressing, this government is not allowing students, this government is against SCs. Today, the very same people who dragged that unfortunate family onto the streets should stand up before the entire country and apologize for having politicized this matter. This is how higher education, research conducted in higher education, and the ways in which education and related debates are conducted are politicized. Today, when the facts have come out, you know that the pressure, that the toxic involvement and the narrative which came not from the government, please. It came from vested interest groups, the self-anointed left liberal groups, the self-anointed leader in the opposition bill who says, Mohabbat ki dukaan. he actually perpetrated this problem, spoke so badly, spoke also in the parliament about his interpretation. So when I said rigorous research will have to be with the methodology, with the data, and not get infused with political narrative, this is what I meant. A problem which could have been amicably addressed within the university without dishonoring any particular student or family was dragged to the streets of the country. And allegations were levied against the education minister and the government at that time because that happened to be a central university. So, madam or sir, whoever asked this question, the intolerance, the political interference, the hate lies not in the government but in those vested interest groups who don't lose an opportunity to bring this toxin into centers of higher education. And therefore, I will appeal to institutions like Deccan College to do discuss this, get a lot of students and faculty from every institution to discuss where lies this oppressive high-handedness, the purveyors of truth in India, who themselves are bringing the toxin into the university campuses. Rohit Vemula had his dignity to be respected by dragging him and his mother in the name of protecting Dalit cause. Our constitution respects the Dalit cause. We all respect the Dalit cause. The reservation which is being given by the constitution is an affirmative support which the constitution gives. All of us will have to respect it. But taking a debate which was not a Dalit matter and projecting it as one has shown how this debate can go out of hand if it is not handled with sensitivity. Speaking in the parliament was the worst example of how an issue was dragged without allowing the law enforcement agencies to do their job. Political color and tone was given. And that would probably give you an answer with an example, madam or sir, who asked this question.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we